This is a true story that happened to me in 2005. So on this morning, it was early, and I could not go back to sleep no matter how hard I tried. I kept getting this gut feeling like something bad had happened, and my stomach was tore up. So I decided just to get on up, get dressed, and go see my grandma who was in the hospital. Now, my grandma had been very sick for a few weeks, but the doctor said she was getting better and would be going home in a couple of days. The hospital was over an hour away from my house, and my gas tank was on E, so I knew I was going to have to stop and get gas. But right before I got to the store, my stomach dropped, and that bad feeling got even worse. So as I'm pulling up to the gas pump, a black hearse pulls in behind me and then parks right beside me. I can't stop looking at this hearse. It's like something is drawing my attention to it. So I lock my gas pump in and I walk around towards the back of that hearse and I see the name of the funeral home. And as I'm looking at the back glass, I notice there's a body in the back. So I'm just standing there staring at the back of this hearse when the driver comes out the store, gets in the car, and as he's pulling out the parking lot, I could have sworn I saw two people in the back glass. It looked like an old woman was sitting beside a young boy and their eyes were glowing. I freaked out. I thought I was tripping. It scared me so bad that I jumped in my car and floored it to my mama's house, and when I got there I told her what happened, and then she asked me what was the name of the funeral home, and I said blank funeral home. Mama said, "Oh my God, that's crazy. They just called me about 5 minutes ago and said that they're back with grandma's body, so we have to go up there." I said, "Wait a minute, what are you talking about, grandma's body? What happened?" Mama said, "I'm so sorry, honey, but grandma died early this morning." I said, "Why didn't you call me?" Mama said that wasn't something I wanted to tell you over the phone. I was going to tell you in person when you got here. So the whole time I was pumping gas and feeling weird, my grandmother's body was in the back of that hearse right beside me, and I didn't even know it. So we think the two faces I saw was my grandmother and her teenage son who died in a car wreck in 1976 when he was only 16. His death devastated her, and she was never the same again, and she would always talk about how she was ready to go because she missed him and wanted to hold her baby boy again. And to this day, I truly believe I saw my grandmother reunited with her son for the first time in many years.
Never let a man come over to your house after a first date. And if you used to do that, you're not going to do that after this story time. Let's go. I also forget to mention that it's a true story time. Yeah, let us begin. The story starts off with this young girl. She goes on a first date with this guy. They go out to get dinner. And honestly, he was a green flag all throughout. Like, he was nice to the waitresses. He paid for the bill. Like, no red flags at all. This is why no matter how normal or nice a guy seems to be, you can never trust them too quickly because the story's like this. The dinner goes great, he pays the bill, and then they just go about their day and they go to their own homes. So obviously this is a respectful man, right? Like, he didn't even try to get her to come over and didn't ask to go over to her house yet. So she goes home and then she gets a call from him, and he's basically saying how he can't find his key, his roommate is not answering the phone, and if he could just come over for the time being until either his roommate answers the phone or he finds his key somehow. And she obviously said yes because, once again, no red flags. He comes over, they're having a blast, they're just sitting on the couch, talking, vibing, and then it just gets really late, so she's like, "Hey, you can sleep on the couch until you figure things out. I'm gonna go to my room." And something told her to lock the door. Obviously, she lives alone, she doesn't normally lock the door, but something, an instinct. A woman's instinct is always right. So she ends up locking the door and then just going to sleep. A couple hours pass, and then she gets a knock on her bedroom door, and it's him asking for a phone charger because his died. Something told her, once again, don't open the door, just tell him where it is. So she does not move, and she says, "It's on the kitchen counter, like, help yourself." And he says thank you, and then he goes about his business, and then she just goes back to bed. Okay, this is where it gets a little for me. A couple minutes go by, and then he comes back and knocks on the door and says, "Hey, like, this charger's not working. Like, do you have a charger in your room that I can borrow?" Something just raises a flag in her head, like, hey, something's wrong. Why does he want to get into my room so bad? So she calls the police. After she calls the police, she hears the door kind of opening. She hears a bunch of commotion outside. And then a couple minutes later, the police knock on her bedroom door and say, "Hey, you're safe. He's in custody. Come outside and look at your living room." Guess what she saw? Please, just pause the video. I want you guys to guess first before you actually hear what it is. So she walks out from her bedroom to her living room with the police, and she sees her whole living room fully plastered, and she just sees a box of power tools. So drills, axes, you name it, it was in that power tool box. If she left her room and she didn't use her womanly instincts, you guys, women, we're never wrong. I said what I said and I meant it. If she did not just listen to her instincts, she would have been gone. I'm so scared for women. We're not safe ever, and it's really sad. I really want to know how she felt in that moment. Just to be whoa, I just listened to my gut, and that's the main reason I'm still alive till this day. Like, if you're watching this, I'm so proud of you. And I hope you know that. Moral of the story is a man can be so normal, have the perfect job, and just be a walking green flag and still not be the person that you think he is. So just don't let anyone into your home. Make sure that you guys run a background check first. Okay, I love you guys. Bye.
As many of you know, I grew up in deep Appalachia. I now live in Atlanta, Georgia, and there are times where I'll tell my friends stories from what happened to me when I lived out there, and they're like, what? I already posted about my UFO story last year, and that video got to like 3 million views. But today, I'm going to tell you guys the story of when I was a kid and I encountered a skinwalker, or at least what I thought was a skinwalker. I hate long intros, so I'm just going to get into the story. The place I lived was a place called Jasper, Georgia. It's right next to LJ. And I lived in the place where the show Squidbillies was based on, and we have a Squidbillies shrine in our town center. I had a friend that I would stay with pretty often, and her family owned a 300-acre farm. And when I say family, it's just her and her mom who live there. And so they have like all these farm animals, and they have different parts of their land that you have to walk through trails in the woods to get through. Like, in order to get to one barn, you have to walk through the woods for like 10 minutes just to get there. So there was one day that I was sleeping over there, and we had been home alone all day. I was probably in 3rd grade when this happened. Some of you might ask why me and my friend were just like 2 3rd graders alone on this farm. And it was because my parents were getting a divorce, and so I needed a place to go, so I pretty much lived with this girl at the time. But back to the story. So my friend's mom was on the way home, but I guess there was like a lot of traffic, or she was running late or something. So she called my friend and she asked her if we could like go down to one of the barns and feed the horses before we went to bed. So at this point in time, it was probably like 8 o'clock. The sun was going down. It was about to be nighttime. You could still see the sun and the light when you're in the open field, but in the woods, it was like pretty dark. Like there was no sunlight. So my friend and I started walking through the pasture to the woods, and she had a flashlight with her. We got to the woods, she turned the flashlight on, and we started walking. We were walking for maybe like 3 or 4 minutes through these woods, so we're about halfway through the trail, and we're just talking about some shit and laughing. And then all of a sudden, my friend just stops talking, and like I was kind of just like looking at her, like as we were speaking. I wasn't really looking in front of me. And then she just like drops the flashlight and starts sprinting in the opposite direction, like back to the house. And so I was like, "You okay, Rebecca?" And because that was her name. And I turn and I see her sprinting, and the flashlight was just like on the floor in front of me. And I was like, what the fuck? So I turned back in front of me, and I just see like maybe like 10 feet away this gigantic like white figure. And I didn't look at it for long, but just like the sheer height of this thing, whatever the fuck it was, scared me so badly that I looked at it and immediately was like fight or flight mode. Like I felt danger. So right when I looked at it, I turned the other way and fucking booked it. I was running faster than I'd ever ran before. So fast that I passed my friend, and I was like running and pissing my pants at the same time. Like that's how fucking scary it was. And so I ran all the way back to her house, and in my brain I was like, what is the one place I can hide right now where no one will find me? And the only thing I could think of was like, I just ran to the laundry room and I got in the dryer. And so I was just sitting in the dryer, and it was like one of those old school dryers. It wasn't like plastic clear cover, so it was just like a white door that closes it from the front. And so I was just in there. I was like curled up in a ball, and I waited like, I don't know, what seemed like 15-20 minutes. I was just in there covered in piss, and eventually I thought that whatever the fuck was in the woods had, like, killed my friend, and so I was just crying, and, like, I was freaking out. But I was also terrified and didn't want to die, so I was just sitting in there. And then eventually, my friend walks through the door, and I can tell that she's crying, and she's, like, hyperventilating. She's like, like, I hear that. And so I open the dryer, and she's, like, scared when I open it, obviously. And I was just, like, also crying, and we hug each other, and I was like, where did you go? And so she told me that she had ran, and she got into, like, this trailer that was kind of near the house, because it was the only place she could think of to hide. And so we were both hiding, and I guess she just, like, mustered up the courage to run to the main house. And so we were both just, like, trying to explain what we saw and, like, put together whatever the fuck that was. And this was, like, 2008, maybe 2009. So I think I was, like, 12 or something when this happened, but this was way before, like, creepypasta or, like, any of these stories were, like, even around, so we couldn't even put a name to, like, what the fuck we saw out there. And so when her mom finally got home, we tried to explain what just happened, and she just, like, dismissed us, and she was like, you girls are just, like, overreacting. You guys saw a bear or, like, a deer or something, which is still terrifying if we saw a bear, but it definitely was not a bear, because this thing was, like, pure white. And in the dark, it's, like, the only thing you can really see is, like, if there's someone standing in front of you with a white t-shirt, like, you're gonna see that. But this thing was completely white, and that's all I remember is just, like, this gigantic, like, 7 or 8 foot tall thing just, like, standing right in front of me, staring at me. And so I'm not friends with this girl anymore. I haven't talked to her in probably, like, 15 years. But I just remember that story, and I remember being so scared that I pissed myself. And the only thing I could think of that being is, like, a skinwalker. So maybe that is a skinwalker. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I've never told that on here, so I hope you guys were entertained and enjoyed it, and maybe got scared. But anyways, later this week I'm gonna post another story about the Appalachian feral people, because I think I also had an experience with that when I was younger. There was a lot of weird shit that happened. But yeah, thank you guys.
If my eye twitches, just ignore it. Please stop twitching, stupid bitch. Stop. No! So I was reading the comments that you guys left under Grandma versus La Llorona, and I found 2 stories that I just have to, oh my god. I found 2 stories that I have to read to you. My eye's gonna twitch no matter what I do, so story time. So lately, me and my husband have been experiencing some stuff at our house. About a month ago, I clearly heard him call me Josie, but when I went to go see what he wanted, he wasn't home. About 3 days ago, we were in the living room and we clearly heard my 12-year-old call me, Mom. I didn't reply since I knew he would come out of his room if it was important. My husband heard it too. So that's when I told him, oh, you heard him? So I went to check what he wanted. He said he never called for me. Yesterday, I was in the hallway getting the laundry out of the hallway bathroom. The bathroom is across the hall from my son's room. His door opened by itself. He asked me if I opened it. I didn't want to freak him out, and I said that the force of me opening the bathroom door might have somehow opened his door. I was terrified, but I didn't want to show my son I was scared. After reading that first one, I was like, sounds like a mimic or some shit. But then I saw this one, I'm like, what the fuck? Story time. Yesterday, I was home alone and I was watching TikTok, but then suddenly I hear a voice calling my name, and the voice just sounded like my sister. I was scared. I think it's a mimic. Like, why? What a coincidence that both of you had, like, similar mimic stories under the same video. Freaked me out. It freaked me out.
Can we show them the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
Tonight's true scary story is one of those stories that you do not watch at night. After I read it, it gave me like this lingering feeling of just not good. I feel so bad for this submitter. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to subscribe to my YT channel, where I will be posting the same story that I told last night, but an uncensored version and a longer version of it. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to subscribe to my YT channel and my IG. Both are in my link tree, where I post the same videos on here, different and longer and uncensored version of videos. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to subscribe to my YT and my IG. They're both in my link tree, and I will be posting the same story I posted last night, only an uncensored and much longer version of it. I will be doing that tomorrow night. If you want to send me your true scary story, my link is also in my bio. You can submit your story there. Today's submitter's name is Randy, and she did say that I could tag her, so she will be tagged below. So any comments or questions that you have, drop them in the comments. She lived in Canyonville, Oregon in 2011. Driveway was a mile long, steep dirt road that had cattle everywhere. She lived with her then boyfriend and his sister, and this is the first place that they had gotten together. They were in their early 20s, so this was kind of exciting for them. Now, his sister was only 16 years old. He worked nights, so she spent a lot of time with his sister at night because neither of them worked at night. She said that this trailer always gave her spooky vibes. She didn't like it. Like, it felt cold and weird, and there was also an added room at the end of the trailer that was almost the length of the trailer. It had cement floors, and in the back of the wall, there was a square cutout of the wall. After about a week of living there, creepy things started happening. So they started hearing knocking on the wall, and if you knocked on the wall, whatever it was that was knocking would imitate your knocks every single time. And sometimes they would be sitting in the trailer, and they would all of a sudden hear this growling sound coming through the vents. They also had 2 cats and 1 dog, and apparently the dog would sit at the end of the hallway every single night and just growl for no reason. Just stare at the end of the hallway and growl. She would always get up to check to see what this was, and there was nothing there, and this would really freak her out a lot. Because can you imagine if one of your animals, especially a dog, was just staring at a corner and growling at it? That would absolutely terrify me. She also said that her boyfriend would disappear a lot, and so a lot of times it would just be her and her sister that would be witnessing things and not him. Why he was disappearing, no idea. So one time in particular, her and his sister are at the house and they're listening to music, when all of a sudden her hair starts to slowly stand up, and it's standing up. His sister looks at her with this terrified look on her face, like, what the hell is happening? They're both staring at each other like, oh my god, she's not moving at all. And then all of a sudden her hair falls back down and the music stops and all the electronics in the house just shut down. She said that the only thing that stayed on were the lights. So they were just sitting there staring at each other, absolutely terrified, when all of a sudden the doors of the cupboards just fly open and dishes just start flying out of the cupboard. And as if that wasn't bad enough, she was showering one time. She's standing in the shower, and all of a sudden she feels this gust of wind. When she looks over, and there's this bald man standing next to the shower staring at her. He was about 6'4". His skin looked weathered, like he had been in the sun for way too long. He had dark circles around his eyes. He was wearing a dark sweater and black slacks. And he's just standing there staring at her when the curtain, the shower curtain, wraps around her entire body and she falls out of the shower. He's just standing there. After that, they absolutely refused to take showers alone. Both of the girls started seeing this man everywhere, and especially when they would take showers. So every time they took a shower, they would have to have one another in the room. Then her boyfriend starts experiencing things. The little girl presented herself to her boyfriend and told her boyfriend that they were trapped there in this house because there was a plane crash and there was a man there, a bad man, probably the bald man, who was keeping them there, keeping them trapped there. Now, this little girl started presenting herself to the girls often, and this little girl was not she didn't look great. She had long, dark hair that was always in her face. She had dark circles around her eyes, and she was super pale. She was about 8 or 9 years old, and she would always wear a white dress that was kind of ruffled, and she always had a music box with her that had a mirror in it. It was like an old antique music box, and she would carry this around with her everywhere. Now, they always knew when she was going to show herself because they could hear the music box playing before she would present herself. Now, after they would hear this music, they would then hear her running up and down the halls, giggling. She could also run through you and then laugh. Sandy said that her first experience with her doing this was incredibly odd because it felt like ice was running through her veins. This part is terrifying. One day, her boyfriend is laying on the couch and he has dark brown eyes. This is important to know. He's arguing with her about something, and while he's arguing with her, all of a sudden his voice starts to change. He starts yelling at her and his voice sounds almost demonic. He then shoots up from his position and he just stares at her and he starts yelling, and his eyes turn this bright green color with this red dot in the middle. Then stops yelling and he just stares at her, and he's intently staring at her with these eyes. And this is super awkward when all of a sudden she goes, "Joseph," and he answers and goes,
Joseph isn't here right now.
And he just sits back down and acts completely normal. She will never forget that, she said. That scared the daylights out of her. So after everything being absolutely insane for a year, Joseph finally contacts his aunt, which is apparently an empath. And she tells them that that random room that is attached, that has that cement flooring and everything, needs to be covered because it is a portal. Meanwhile, she had never been to the house before, so she had no idea that that room was even there. His aunt also tells them that that bald man is the keeper of all of those souls there. So I was right. Yes, the keeper of all those souls. He's not good. They also found out that the trailer was manufactured in a town in California that did not exist at all. It said right there on the trailer where it was manufactured, and it was not a real place. They also discovered that in the late 1800s that a plane had crashed in that area with no survivors. They ended up just moving out after a year because it just got worse and worse every single day. Do you guys think that this was demonic or a poltergeist, or what do you think this was? Because this sounds demonic to me. This sounds bad, especially the bald man and the little girl. Whenever something presents itself as a little girl, I never believe that it's a little girl. That's just my opinion. But what do you guys think in the comments? Because Randy would love to know what everyone thinks. This was a horrible experience for her. She lived in fear every single day. So she would like to know what you guys think. My name is Kaisa, and I give true scary stories on here every single night. So if you like that, then hit that follow button. And like I said before, if you guys want to send me your true scary story, my email is in my bio. It is kaisaspooky@gmail.com, or you can go to my link tree and submit your story there. Love you guys tons and tons, every single one of you. Thank you so much, every one of you. I love you. Thank you. I notice all of you that are repeat commenters. You guys are my favorite. Like, I appreciate the comments and the likes and the shares and everything more than you know, and the support and the followers. Like, you guys make my day every single day. I swear to you, you do. There's just one last thing I need you to do for me. And what is that? Have a spooky night. Look.
6 years ago, a medium told me if I did not leave my house, that something was going to kill me. Summer 2018, I moved with my son to North Carolina, where his dad was stationed. He had been living in the house that we were renting, but we didn't have anything, just the couch that we were sleeping on for a little bit, because we were gonna order a bed and it was not gonna get there until November. So we decided we were just gonna sleep on the couch. Every other room was completely done and ready to go. 2 weeks later, I started at my new job at Lux Salon in Raleigh. I started the same day as a girl named Veronica. Found out the day before I started that I was pregnant with my daughter. What's relative about that is at night, when you first are pregnant, when you're pregnant the whole time, you have to pee a ton. And my husband at the time and I were sleeping on the couch because we didn't have a bed until November, and it was September at this point. And so the first time I have to go back to the bathroom in the middle of the night, my eyes are adjusted, I sit up and I start walking towards the bathroom, which is like down the hallway. And I feel a heaviness, and then I feel like I'm walking through a black shadow. I freak out, I flip on the light really fast. Obviously there was nothing there, and I kept that light on. The first instance of something like spooky happening. But at night, things would fall off of the walls, and it was terrifying to me. So I'm telling everyone at work, like, you know, I'm the new girl, I'm weird, but I have all this stuff happening to me. So I'm discussing everything, and Veronica's like listening and stuff, and we're becoming, you know, like buds. She's clocking it. I didn't know her mom was a medium, and she didn't disclose that, nor do I think that necessarily she told her mom any of this. One night it got really scary because it was like 8 o'clock at night, we're around the dinner table, and there's banging on the side of our house, and there's no windows on that side. So I text my neighbor, I was like, hey, are you banging on the side of the house? She's like, oh my gosh, no. And then suddenly the banging was upstairs above us and in my son's room. My son had been screaming like twice for whatever reason at night, which is very unusual for him. So that freaked me out too. So my husband runs upstairs, and he can't hear the banging, but I can hear the banging. And I'm like, he's like, there's nothing. I'm like, it's banging still. He runs downstairs, and the banging is on the side of the house again. I don't even remember what we did that night. I blacked out. I don't remember anything. I don't even remember telling my family it was happening, but I told the girls out at work. Okay. I was like, listen, this is happening, and this is creepy. I'm pregnant. finally we have a bed, okay? So I don't have to do the spooky bathroom trips at night. So we have a bed, we live upstairs. One night when I was pretty pregnant, I shot up in bed because I was being choked. And I'm sorry if I'm talking about this like very nonchalantly. This is my 4th time recording this. The last time I recorded it, like just 5 minutes ago, the audio was gone. So I should actually check and see if the audio is working. Okay, it's working. Wake up, I'm being choked. And it's not like reflux like you get when you're pregnant. It's like I felt like someone was choking on me. I sit up so fast. I'm like, it's hard to breathe, but I catch my breath. And I'm like, and I just think, okay, reflux. Because I'm scared. I don't want to admit that there's something spooky going on. I had a relationship with God, but not really. I wasn't praying to him or anything like that. Like the relationship was just not there. I wish I had a relationship at that point, because I feel like I would be able to just like cast the demons out. So I tell my neighbor, who's like a little bit woo-woo, and her best friend is also woo-woo. They're like witches, and they're like, listen, there is such a heavy presence in this house. Like it's terrifying. Got my cross, my baby, we've got the windows open, we're saging. I'm saying that Our Father, you know, because I'm Catholic. That's just like what I know. That's all I know. Everything is good and clear until I give birth to my daughter. I was in so much bliss, and I started getting very sick. I had rashes all over my body. I couldn't bend my fingers. Like, it was very progressive, and I kept getting more and more sick. I went to the emergency room. I went to my OB/GYN. Like, no one can figure out exactly what is going on. So I get on this like antibiotic type of thing, and I start feeling good on Friday. Monday, June 10th, baby, is when my AVM bursts. I didn't know I had my AVM at all. So all I think is I have a massive headache. It was to the point where I could not go to sleep. And I have my whole stroke story on my profile. You can go and listen to it. So I'm gonna really skip ahead. Go to the hospital in June. I'm home by October. I realized because of my stroke, I can't go up and down stairs. At this point, like, I was in a walker for assistance. We need to buy a house. We buy a cute little ranch, and I tell all the girls at work, like, oh my gosh, like, I bought a house. And Veronica goes, wait, so you're not in that house anymore? I'm like, no. She goes, okay, my mom wrote you a letter. When I say this letter blew my mind, go to part 2.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window
Sean.
break?
New fear unlocked. If you have an attic, there could be someone secretly living up there as you're watching this video and you wouldn't even know. One of my followers named Noah sent me this really crazy story through my Instagram DMs about how him and his parents found someone secretly living in their house attic. Noah told me this happened 3 years ago when they moved into their new house. His family moved from Jersey to Georgia due to his dad finding a way better paying job down there. Noah told me he wasn't excited at all to move. And maybe this was his parents' karma for not listening to him. He told me he desperately wanted to stay in Jersey because if he moved to Georgia, he would basically have to restart his life and make new friends in a state that he was unfamiliar with. His parents honestly didn't care, and soon after they broke the news to him that they were moving, a few days later, there was a moving truck in their front yard. Noah told me the day they moved in, the sky was gloomy and dark. The vibes just weren't there. He remembers walking into the house and it smelled like rotten eggs mixed with spoiled milk. Apparently, it was because they didn't clean out the vents. Noah told me he hated everything about this house. To his room, to the living room, to the kitchen, to the bathroom, he hated everything. He also told me he felt really weird in the house. Not because he just moved in and he was homesick from his old house, but just something was off. Noah said that same day, as he was helping his dad move some things into his parents' new room, he told me it felt like someone had already stepped foot into the room that they were in. You know when someone passes by you and you can smell their scent? That's what it was like to Noah. It was like someone was there a few seconds before them and then somehow disappeared. It was a strange feeling. Noah told me that feeling never went away, and in the span of 3 days. Unusual stuff started to happen within the house. The first night, while Noah was sleeping in his room, he woke up to the sound of giggling. Every few seconds he would hear it, and he thought his parents were being obnoxiously loud. He remembers yelling, "Shut up," and the giggling stopped. The morning of, when he asked his parents about why they were being so loud, they told him they were sound asleep, and even if they were laughing, there would have been no way that he would have been able to hear them because their rooms are pretty far apart. This same day, while his dad was in the house alone and Noah and his mom were out shopping, Noah told me his dad saw a figure run across the hallway. He said he was sitting on the couch watching TV, nearly falling asleep, when all of a sudden he heard a door slightly creaking open. He became alert and sat up from the couch, looking around. At one point, as his eyes moved from the hallway to the living room, he swears he saw the silhouette of a person running across the hallway into a room. But he just came to the conclusion that he was seeing things because he was tired and went back to sleep on the couch. Now, the next day was when they all realized that they weren't tripping the first time. Noah told me while his mom was taking a shower, both Noah and his dad heard a blood-curdling scream coming from the bathroom. When they busted down the door, Noah told me his mom was hyperventilating, pointing at the ceiling. She told them when she was scrubbing her body down, at one point she looked up at the ceiling and noticed something strange. A little tiny light beamed on her that went from green to red and then disappeared. Trying not to freak out, she kept her eye on the spot of the ceiling, walked out, turned the bathroom light off, and grabbed her phone. When she stepped back into the shower, she turned her phone flashlight on and quickly shined it at the area where she said she saw an eyeball. So she knew it was an eye because she could see the iris and whites around it. And when she shined her flashlight, the eye blinked and it backed up, and she heard someone go, "Ah!" In that moment, she knew someone was watching her and she screamed. Fast forward, Noah told me both him and his dad went up to the attic with a baseball bat ready to attack while his mom called the police. Noah told me up in the attic it smelled rotten from before. There were trash bags everywhere, empty food containers, blankets, and as they got closer to where the man was hiding, he popped up and told them not to attack. Noah told me he was an older man, had no front teeth, was a little bit on the skinnier side, and had marks all over his face. They brought the guy downstairs, and come to find out, this man had been living in their house, or squatting as they would say, literally way before they moved in. Every morning or afternoon when they weren't home, he would leave the attic, go downstairs to where their fridge is, take food, and hurry back up in the attic without them knowing. When the police arrived, they told him that he was a squatter and that squatters can be dangerous. Most cases involve them attacking anyone that comes near them, so this was a rare incident of that not happening. The police also told him that when squatters find houses like this, they usually go back and tell others that it's safe to stay in. The man was arrested, and moving forward, Noah and his family all slept in a hotel. Noah told me his dad informed the local news station, and they were able to get coverage about this incident, which ended up getting the whole town involved, and they helped them get a new place. Fast forward to today, Noah told me everything is fine, and he's actually having the most fun time in Georgia. They moved to a much bigger house in a really safe neighborhood, and now his parents always warn and share their story to new house owners about people that could possibly be living in their house, and they won't even know it until it's too late.